Hi, I'm natekokernot, and I want to welcome you to my channel. In the last couple videos, I've been saying that seeing the world through the filter of love or through the filter of fear is a choice which each of us must make, and that it's a choice we have to make again and again in every passing moment. The name I've given to this channel, Miracle Readiness, is a description of a state of mind of one who has chosen to believe again and again that love is all that exists, and so this one has no need for fear. Love is the recognition that despite appearances to the contrary, we all share one mind, and therefore we cannot have separate agendas. Without the belief in separate agendas, it is really impossible to fear the intentions of our brothers and sisters. I've given you lots of evidence that the idea that our sensory systems, mostly through our eyes and ears, were not designed to give us an accurate description of reality, but rather a dumbed-down reality that is convenient for our survival as an organism. Our sensory systems are actually designed to reduce the amount of information coming in to only what is useful for our continued survival as bodies. If you want to hear the evidence, you can go to my playlist on perception, which can be found by visiting the channel itself. I will grant you the fact that if you trust your eyes and your ears, you will likely be looking out on a fearful world. But this can be remedied by simply remembering that your eyes and ears are designed to deceive you. We see what we believe is there. The cause of what we see are the beliefs we have about what reality is, or our worldview, which is based entirely on our past learning. We are projecting our past onto the present moment any time that we are trusting what our eyes and ears have taught us. So when I say that perception is projection, I want to be clear that it is our past that we're projecting onto the present and onto the future, and thus we make the future like the past. So if we were to apply this to the news, we might come to the conclusion that the news isn't new so much as it is a replay of the past, just like in that Bill Murray comedy, Groundhog Day. I have offered the practice of thought vigilance as a way, not the only way, but a way, of moving gradually towards a more peaceful worldview, and eventually a more love-filled experience of the world by standing watch over your thoughts that you let yourself entertain. There is another playlist if you visit the channel called Thought Vigilance. I am offering it as an alternative to acting out of fear to ensure your safety in this world. The ego, the part of your mind that believes it's successfully split off from the oneness of everything, will always tell you to be cautious, to distrust others and their evil intentions, and that it, the ego, will ensure your safety in this way. The ego likes to tell us that we're not safe without it, but in each of us there is another mind, which we share with all of humankind, which tells you simply that you are safe. This part of your mind is called the Holy Spirit in A Course in Miracles, but I sometimes refer to it as the higher self, which is a term from internal family systems therapy. The Holy Spirit knows only the good intentions, both in yourself and in your brothers and sisters. But it speaks in a whisper, while the ego is usually shouting at us. I'd say this is because the Holy Spirit doesn't feel the urgency to prove itself right, since it already knows it is right. The truth is always true. It doesn't need defending. Franklin Delano Roosevelt once said, "The only thing to fear is fear itself." Those words were most definitely derived from the Holy Spirit. The cause of what we see are the thoughts that we entertain about the meaning of what we see. When we begin to examine our thoughts with a more radical self-honesty, we will realize that they are mostly judgments of the rightness or wrongness of what we see and hear. This should be versus this should not be, or this is good versus this is bad, or this is right versus this is wrong. The Holy Spirit reminds us that our eyes are not even giving us an accurate description of what is there in the first place. They were designed to show us a world of separation rather than the world that exists, and frankly, it would be rather arrogant to think that we can judge anything correctly if we're not accurately seeing what's actually there. Just like the garden hose that we mistake for a snake. I'm saying, metaphorically of course, that this whole world is a garden hose that we've mistaken for a snake. When I was practicing thought vigilance full-time at the beginning of COVID, I started out with a cart before the horse kind of mentality. I wanted a more pleasant experience in this world, where things went my way more often. I was often frustrated in those early days that the world wasn't changing for the better right before my eyes, and that frustration and discouragement almost convinced me to give up on the practice. But it did occur to me, maybe because the Holy Spirit came through and whispered it to me enough times, that my beliefs were simply not stable as of yet, and that perhaps this was why I was still seeing instability in the world around me. It took me about 18 months of disciplined, consistent thought vigilance to get to a place where, because I was no longer thinking grievance thoughts and judgment thoughts, my first-hand experience was beginning to be more peaceful, less turbulent, and I was convinced that it was because I had finally achieved a more consistently peaceful state of mind. I wasn't watching the news at all during that time. I wasn't talking to people about what was going on in the greater world. And I eventually got to a place where I could honestly report peace as my state of mind for the vast majority of my waking hours. And it felt really peaceful. I experienced very little anxiety, very little distrust, and very little anger. Nowadays, I experience even less of those things because now I utilize thought vigilance every time I notice that my emotional experience is teetering on the edge of fear, and usually I can put myself back in that peaceful state of mind quite quickly. It frames a more peaceful world for me to look out upon. I do watch the news more now, but I don't allow the images I view on it to disturb my peace anymore. I don't make any of it real in my mind. What this allows me to have is peace of mind. When I am in possession of peace, I have peace to give to the world around me. Previously, when I had more anxiety and more grievances, that's what I had to share with other people. Both of these alternative choices will ripple out into the world around me because emotions themselves are quite contagious. So the big question really is whether the world we see is nothing more than a projection of the thoughts we think, which themselves eventually transform into beliefs and a unique worldview by being thought repeatedly, or whether our thoughts are an effect of the world that is happening around us, a world that is happening independently of our minds. It's the most fundamental debate around cause and effect. It's the debate between mentalism and physicalism, and neither view has established itself as ironclad as of yet, at least not in the realm of science. The only way to really find out for yourself is to run the experiment, to practice gaining mastery over the thoughts you think, and then to feel the results for yourself on the basis of your emotional experience. Perhaps you were taught wrong by those that taught you that the world is happening to you, rather than by you and for you. Perhaps it's worth gaining some mastery over your thoughts to see if it does result in more peace. One thing that did happen for me within the first couple of months of practicing was that I noticed I was getting triggered much less intensely by things that were happening to me, because I was already somewhat convinced that they weren't actually happening to me, but by me. And that was an indication that it was a useful practice, and it gave me the motivation to double down on the practice, and to remember more often not to put the cart before the horse. If you're not seeing a more peaceful world around you in the first couple of months of thought vigilance, it's simply because you still don't believe your mind is as powerful a creator as it is. You simply haven't practiced enough yet to stabilize your beliefs, so your perceptions are themselves still unstable. The fearful world you see is an effect of the fearful thoughts you believe. Starve those beliefs by not entertaining them anymore, and see for yourself the truth that remains. Only love, only God, only now. Thank you for watching, and thanks to all of you who have liked these videos or subscribed to the channel. There is a collective tipping point that needs to be achieved at some point, when more of us believe in the absolute truth of love than do believe in the effectiveness of fear to keep us safe. And by tickling the algorithm in those ways, you are helping us reach that day sooner rather than later. Right now, I'd say the algorithm is still slanted towards fear, but that it's evolving every day towards love. If only love is true and fear is just an illusion, then it is inevitable that we will reach that point someday. And I, for one, am really looking forward to it. Have a wonderful day.